What's going on, everyone? This is Titus Wang here, and welcome to another tier list video. Last time I did a tier list on all of the characters, ice blocks, in Super Mario Party, which was the second game I ever owned on the Switch, and I thought to myself, hey, why not do a tier list on the first game I ever owned on the Switch? And today that game is going to be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And we do, in fact, have some people in the voice channel today to help me facilitate this conversation. So, for all the people that are in voice chat right now, you want to introduce yourselves?
What's up? I'm Nintendo Star.
Yup, that is Nintendo Star. Okay, so we have 48 tracks to go through, and I know that's going to be a lot. Just a quick disclaimer before I get into all the details of what I'm going to be ranking these tracks based on. This will be not just a tier list, I would say, but also a full-on, in-depth discussion. So, obviously, don't expect this to be a very short, like, 10-minute video like some of the tier lists I've seen. This is the first time I think anybody's ever done this on Tier Maker, and this may be the longest version of this, as far as I'm concerned. Mario! Speaking of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario's in the chat. What's up, Mario? Good to see you. You just caught us for this recording of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tier list that, again, will eventually be going up on YouTube for the whole world to see. I've been playing Mario Kart 8 yesterday. Yes, I know you're a very big fan of Mario Kart, because you've been talking about it in the server and stuff. So, in terms of all of these 48 tracks, I'm going to be ranking them based on three things. First of all, what the track itself is like. Second of all, what's going on in the background. And third of all, my personal experiences with that track. And I'll be ranking all 48 tracks accordingly. And they're already all in order, so shoutouts to the person who already made this, because this is fantastic if they're all in order already. Now with that in mind, I'm gonna not be considering a couple of things. This is obviously a huge no-no for this. I'm not gonna be considering any shortcuts, because if I considered shortcuts when making these rankings, the desert tracks would get an instant S on this tier list, and I feel differently about desert tracks than that. And the other thing, too, I'm also not going to be considering music, like the bangers that you're hearing right now. I will not be considering the music track that goes along with each racetrack, because then again, that would bring certain bias, and then that would push up certain tracks to the very top of this list. But yeah, I think I've said everything. So without further ado, let's go ahead and rank all of these, starting with the Mushroom Cup. Because again, it seems like they're going in order based on the cups that appear in the game. And the very first track that we're going to be ranking is Mario Kart Stadium, which, in fact, the music to this track is playing right now. It's the very first track that almost everybody plays in the game. It's a very good introductory track, just for starters, and the track is basically a huge stadium, with the main attraction of the background being a life-sized version of Mario on his cart with the words Mario Kart Stadium right below it. So this track starts off perfectly normal. There's going to be a boost panel sort of to your left, and then this is where they get crazy, because they start introducing the zero-gravity mechanic, and suddenly you're driving on the side of the track, which is quite bonkers, and this will obviously be the case for many new tracks, right, that appear in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So basically, you're driving along the side of the track, and the track ends with a gliding section where you glide down, and you basically finish the track. There's like a ramp on the right where you can do a trick, and if you want to take a shortcut with mushrooms, you can, through pipes and sand. Now, like I said, shortcuts will not be mentioned, or they will not contribute to how I rank these tracks, but the shortcuts, at least most of them, are worth mentioning. But again, they will not contribute to how I rank this stuff. So, Mario Kart Stadium to me is, like I said, a good introductory track, but there's way better tracks that appear later on in the game, especially if we're going to start off with an introductory track like Mario Kart Stadium. Now, that being said, Mario Kart Stadium is one of the best introductory tracks I think they could ever introduce in a Mario Kart game. But compared to most of the other tracks, I think it's pretty average, even with the whole anti-gravity thing. So I'm actually going to put Mario Kart Stadium right now in C tier, so the average tier. Because again, there will be a lot of better tracks to come later on. How do you do a tier list? There is a website, Mario, called Tier Maker, where you can go onto it and you can check and see if somebody's already made a tier list on this kind of stuff, and if they haven't, then you can sort of make your own files and post them onto a separate tier list, and then create your own, and then share it with other people to see. Again, the website is called Tiermate Track, in the Mushroom Cup, is Water Park. And Water Park is a huge roller coaster, or yeah, basically it is a huge roller coaster, and there's an amusement park going on in the background. You start at right before the water. You start on basically a brick road that leads towards the water, and you jump off a ramp, and then it reintroduces the water, the driving underwater mechanic that came from Mario Kart 7. And I should also mention that the glider mechanic also came from Mario Kart 7. So both of those mechanics, basically almost everything that made up Mario Kart 7 and what made it different from other Mario Kart games was brought back into Mario Kart 8/Deluxe. So, you're driving underwater for a little bit, or actually the zero gravity happens before even the water part. It happens right before the ramp you trick off of, and then you drive on the side of the loop-de-loop, where there's the sub-coaster that goes along that you can get a zero gravity boost off of, and then you finish by going past, like, the little, I want to say it's like a carousel underwater, and then you end by gliding off the very top of a huge slope, and that's basically how you finish the track. Again, water
for
part
me,
one. Yeah. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I don't know what it is about the track, but I really like it. It, at least to me, I really like the element of having, like, in the background, having, like, this submarine, like, going throughout the course as if it was, like, giving a tour. At least that's how I view it as. And I think that was, like, a little cool thing that they did.
Right. For me, Water Park, again, there are more tracks that do look way better than Water Park. I will give it props for the fact that it does have an amusement park setting, and there's going to be at least another track somewhere down the line that will have that same exact thing. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really think too highly of Water Park. I actually think it's also average, so I'm also going to put Water Park in C tier right above Mario Kart Stadium. Because again, Mario Kart Stadium is a good introductory track, but at the end of the day, it is just a stadium, and Water Park does bring a little more vibrance to what it has to offer. But again, there's still better tracks than Water Park. You rate Rainbow Road 100 out of 10. We're gonna see how I rate the Rainbow Roads much later.
Which one?
I mean, yeah, sure, we can ask, we can ask Mario which one, because there are 3 Rainbow Roads. The next track is Sweet Sweet Canyon. Now, when I first saw this track, and I'm sure a lot of people have brought this up in their tier list as well. I know at least a couple of people did. Sweet Sweet Canyon immediately reminded me of that one area in Wreck-It Ralph called Sugar Rush. And if you haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph, by the way, great movie. And the second one's honestly pretty good too, but I think I like the first one better. But we're not here to talk about Wreck-It Ralph. We're here to talk about Sweet Sweet Canyon, which basically is exactly what you think it is. It is the ultimate candy lover's course. I mean, right off the bat at the starting line, you have gingerbreads and gingerbread toads cheering you on. And the whole track you're racing on is basically a wafer. You start by getting blasted out of a glider cannon, which I don't remember exactly what it's made of, but it's basically a cannon. And then you drive underwater, or should I say under some honey or under some sweet liquid. And then right after that is the zero gravity part, where then you're driving on either a pink path or a blue path, and you meet up in the middle, and you basically finish the track off a wafer ramp, or if you got some boost, you can boost right through a donut hole for a shortcut. So Sweet Sweet Canyon, to me, I'll be completely honest, this is one of the more tracks that I've gotten screwed over on, but that doesn't really make me dislike the track anymore. In fact, I actually think it's a pretty decent track, because I don't think there's ever been... There might not have been a course where it's just a full-on, like, sweet-themed track. I know that they've had, like, Choco Mountain at some point in the Mario Kart series, but that's not a full-on candified track, or a sweetified track, if you will. So, based on what all I've just said, I'm actually going to rate Sweet Sweet Canyon as the first B-tier track. I think it's a decent track. Again, there's still tracks to me that are better, but I think Sweet Sweet Canyon, if modified more, has the potential to become one of the most ideal tracks in the game. But that being said, it still looks stunning.
At least to me, I'm not a huge fan of it. The music is decent, but, like, It's not like one of those courses that I'm like, ooh, we need to go on this one.
Right, yeah.
It's more just like one of those filler rounds that we need to do.
Right, and to bring up your point about the music in this was just kind of light and cheerful, you know? It's just a cute little Candyland, basically. Alright, next track is Thwomp Ruins. Now, I will say, as a kid, after the first few times I played it, I started to take a look, I started to actually notice the textures around this track, and I gotta say, we got some of the most HD-looking thwomps in this game, or should I say the most realistic-looking thwomps in this game. They actually genuinely look like they're made out of stone, unlike most Mario Kart games in the past where they've tried to include thwomps. So that already says something. You start this track by going inside the ruins. If you're lucky enough to get a mushroom, you can kind of take that, like, beginning shortcut after the first couple of laps. And this is the first track where they introduce zero gravity riding on the walls, and you don't just have to stick with the main path where a circle-sized stone could potentially screw you over. No, you can in fact go on the wall and ride on the wall using zero gravity. And then you basically keep going through the rest of the ruins, and you start seeing the realistic-looking thwomps that could squish you. And again, there's a nice shortcut at the end off a ramp that does not have a speed boost, so you do have to actually be a little bit skilled with it. But if you are, it could cut a second or two off the rest of the players, and you could win off of that shortcut. And there is a gliding ramp at the very end, but there's also an additional one that will open at the start of the second lap, depending on how far you are. If you're more towards the back of the pack by the second lap, you'll definitely be able to get a chance to use it. If you're in first place, maybe not. That really just depends on your placement. So Thwomp Ruins, I actually really like Thwomp Ruins. I think it's mainly because of the textures that I see on the ruins, and especially the thwomps. Again, I don't think there's ever been more realistic looking thwomps in any Mario Kart game until what we saw back when Mario Kart 8 first released in 2014 on the Wii U. And I gotta say, I think honestly, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think Thwomp Ruins, for me, is actually going to be an A tier. I really like Thwomp Ruins, again, especially for the textures. I think they blew it out of the park with the textures, or should I say blew it out of the ruins with those textures, and I don't think many other tracks get that more realistic look out of them.
Right.
All
I
right.
agree with.
Oh,
I agree. The texture. I really do like the textures on it, especially like playing through the levels and noticing them. I also thought that was like really cool. But the other thing I really liked about the course was like it was kind of like also what you touched base on, but I also liked how there were like, multiple paths. So like at one point, let's say that you're on the wall, you can just be like, oh no, I want to get off the wall, and you're able to because like there weren't any barriers to keep you up, really.
Right, yeah, that makes sense.
So that was also really nice because like you could just use it to quickly grab like a few items and then just hop off.
Okay, well that concludes the
That's
mushroom
my 2 cents.
Right, yeah. No, that's completely valid. Alright, so that concludes the Mushroom Cup. We are now going to move on to the Flower Cup. So, the first track in the Flower Cup is the Mario Circuit, because Nintendo got into a habit of making Mario Circuit the very first track in every Flower Cup. So, this Mario Circuit, there's some distinct features to it. For one thing, the track itself is shaped like the 8 in the actual logo itself for the game, which is kind of cool. So you start off by going down the loop, trying to avoid a couple Goombas and stuff, and then immediately you're jumping into zero gravity right at the white bridge, or I guess you could call it a bridge. Yeah, basically at the white bridge, you become zero gravitified, and you race through and avoid some piranha plants and pipes, and then you go up the figure 8 until you pretty much hit the glider ramp at the very end. And for the first time ever, I don't know why they haven't done this in any Mario Kart game, but you actually have to avoid stacks of Goombas for once. Not just single Goombas, but stacks of Goombas. Again, I don't know why they haven't done that for a single Mario Kart track before, because I'm pretty sure stacks of Goombas existed, pretty early on in Mario's history, although I could be entirely wrong about that. So, Mario Circuit, The other big thing it has too is that when you are in zero gravity mode, towards the middle of the track, you will get an upside down view of Peach's castle, which is kind of cool. Now, other than that upside down view,
notice that.
yeah, so yeah, that's right. You do get an upside down view. Now, other than that though, I don't feel like the track really has a whole lot for it to offer. I mean, you are avoiding Goombas and Piranha Plants, and eventually you'll get to do some tricks off ramps, gliders, and all that stuff, but excuse me, I don't feel like there's a whole lot else going on in the background besides that. So, but I do think it's a decent track. I will probably put Mario Circuit in B tier behind Sweet Sweet Canyon, because even though I really like the concept of Mario, I'll be completely honest here, I like the concept of Mario Circuit more, but I think Sweet Sweet Canyon has a little more going for it with being candified, as well as stuff going on in the background that you may not notice at first. Alright. So, the next track is Toad Harbor. And I don't know how true this is, but some people on their tier lists have mentioned that Toad Harbor is based off San Francisco, which, hey, I live in the state that San Francisco's in, good old California. So Toad Harbor starts off with you going around, taking a right turn, and you can choose between one of two paths. You can choose to jump over, you can choose to jump over some boats, or trick off some boats, I would say, or you can choose the regular path. But either way, you're going to be going through some street vendors, or market vendors, whatever you call them, street vendors, either through the top of their roofs, or at the bottom. And after that, you're going to be racing through. There's a couple of paths you can take. You can take the upper path or the bottom path. And then eventually you'll be greeted by the cable cars, which, if you didn't know, you can actually follow the cable car tracks to where they eventually get stationed at, but it does lead to a dead end. But it's obviously cool kind of being that explorer on the track when you're not taking it seriously. You can go on zero gravity on the walls, and there's a few ramps towards the end before you make it to the end of the track, thus also being able to take some shortcuts along the way. Toad Harbor, to me, it's a bright track. It's during the day, and again, it apparently reminds people, or not to say reminds people, but it's based off of San Francisco, supposedly, which is also kind of cool. Not gonna lie. For me personally, I also think this is a decent track, and this is probably as close to a city as we're going to get. With a couple of these tracks could rival that. But I think this is the closest to a city that we're gonna get. However, still not a whole lot going on as opposed to other tracks. So I'm going to put this in B tier, but I'm wondering where exactly. I think honestly, the city setting for Toad Harbor for me sits the best with me in B tier so far. So I'm gonna put Toad Harbor. There we go. I'm gonna put Toad Harbor in front of both Sweet Sweet Canyon and Mario Circuit. I think so far this is the best track from B tier.
I really like Toad's Harbor. I also agree that it also gives me the vibes of California, because like I go to California a lot, and I really like that bit, but I also think is nice about that state, the course as well, is having the trolleys go around. I know that's not like the biggest deal, but like I really thought that was cool having the trolleys just going throughout the course.
The trolleys or the cable cars going through the course, definitely a very nice touch. And you can see Toads and other people riding inside of it. And they're actually all logoed too. I forgot to mention their logo, because some of them are logoed off Mario, Luigi, some famous characters from the Mushroom Kingdom series. Next up is Twisted Mansion. Now, I don't recall if there's been a single kind of ghostly kind of track since, since Luigi's Mansion, which oddly enough is a battle course in 8 Deluxe, so hey, go figure, right? Now we get, for the first time ever in a Mario Kart game, we now have two haunted themed tracks. So Twisted Mansion is, in fact, very twisted. Once you enter the gates of this mansion, right off the bat, you're in zero gravity, and you're driving along the sides of what is to be a dinner table in the middle. And then, if you have a mushroom, you could shortcut through the library, or you could just take the regular path if you don't. And then you end up going into an underwater section where they put some bonefish in there. And I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why they have that underwater section, which I'll talk about in a second. After you get past the underwater section, you then glide off. You can take the top path, the bottom path, and the coolest thing about this track to me is towards the end. You could shortcut through all of that stuff, but towards the end, there are boos controlling knight suits, knight armor suits that then try to whack down hammer type things at you and try to screw you over at the end. I think that is a really cool concept. Now, I'll be completely honest here. I'm not a fan of ghost-related stuff, especially having growing up playing like the new Super Mario Brothers games and, you know, being the tryhard that I was, trying to 100% everything, including ghost houses, which were a huge pain in the butt. So I've come to grow to terms that I'm not the biggest fan of ghost house stuff. And while Twisted Mansion has some really cool ideas behind it, like, I don't hate the track by any means. I think for what they could have done with a haunted mansion type of track, it's cool, but personally, I just don't find it that it's really for me compared to other people. So I'm actually gonna put Twisted Mansion. I'm gonna put Twisted Mansion in C tier because I think because it's, you know, brand new and they put in all this stuff in here, I think that's what would prevent me from putting it at a lower rank. But I'm gonna put it in C tier, in the average tier, behind Water Park and Mario Kart Stadium. The next track, Shy Guy Falls. A lot of, oh man, okay, I might go to terms with talking about Shy Guy Falls because here's what we got here. So, Shy Guy Falls. There's obviously a lot of Shy Guys in here, right? This is how you know it's Shy Guy Falls. So you start by racing through a couple of turns, and then right before you trick off the first ramp in the track, you go on zero gravity. You start driving up waterfalls. Like, how crazy is that? Like, you're driving up a waterfall, and then you're driving down a waterfall, and then you're gonna end that waterfall trick with a glide off the ramp. You get to choose between an up and down path, and there you go, you're at the end. I think there's also a shortcut that you can take there too. There's like a couple of shortcuts you can take at the end, basically. But Shy Guy Falls, at least so far in the game, has one of the most innovative things you could do with anti-gravity. I mean, dude, you're driving up waterfalls. Like, how crazy is that? You know, that's absolutely incredible. So, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this. Maybe some of you won't agree with me that it's going to be this high on the list, but I think Shy Guy Falls for me is going to be my first S tier track. Again, one of the most innovative things you could do with anti-gravity along the racetrack, and there's practically almost nothing else like that in this game, really. So that's why Shy Guy Falls deserves the first spot in the S category, the S tier category.
I really like Shy Guy Falls, especially with like the bit on the waterfall with the zero gravity. I know they mentioned that. That's like one of the coolest things about that course that I truly like is going up the water. I forget, is it going up or down?
Both, actually.
I just like that little segment. I just feel like it's really cool how you just go on the waterfall.
Right, yeah, exactly. Alright, well, that concludes the Flower Cup. We're now at the Star Cup, starting with Sunshine Airport. Sunshine Airport?
Oh, yeah.
Sunshine Airport is already a huge homage to Super Mario Sunshine, which I have not gotten very far in at all. I've thankfully gotten a chance to start playing it because of Mario 3D All-Stars, so eventually I'll know what the nostalgia for Sunshine feels like. Excuse me. But basically you start in the terminals of the airport, you trick out of the terminals, then you got boxes coming in on conveyor belts which you have to watch out for, and you trick off. You can go on the inside of a plane, or you can just avoid the wheels at the bottom, and then you take off like an airplane would on the glider ramp that's there, and you basically ride along, I guess, the upper part of that terminal, I would say, and then you come gliding down into the, well, I guess I should say the upper part of the terminal. I guess it's just called the upper part of the track. Or for some people, that could be just the takeoff part of it. I'm not entirely sure. I guess when you're on the glider ramp, that's basically the airstrip already. But then you're gliding down and you end inside the terminals again, and you repeat the same process. In terms of what an airport is, a lot of people don't really associate an airport with a good time, but when it comes to Sunshine Airport, they've taken everything that's good about an airport and made it into a enjoyable track. for Sunshine Airport, where would I rank this? I feel like a lot of these I'm gonna rank at around like B or C rank here. Because Sunshine Airport, I kind of feel the same way about some of these other tracks, where it's like it's a cool idea, it's a very nice track.
Right.
But again, there's gonna be many others that I know are gonna absolutely blow me away. Sunshine Airport, I think I'm gonna put this in B tier, but where exactly would I put it? I think I'm gonna put it in between Toad Harbor and Sweet Sweet Canyon, because again, Toad Harbor, I really like the idea of a city, and then Sunshine Airport kind of complements that really well. Alright. Oh yeah, go ahead.
For Sunshine Airport, the things that I really liked were like at least to me, the bits that I really liked was how the end of like the course going up when you start doing the flying bit before you go into zero gravity, having that as like the simulating of like taking off in a plane. I really like that, but then I also like the little what's it called? The baggage area, having like the actual luggage. That I also really like that bit.
Yeah, no, again, they had some nice touches to the airport. They basically reminded us of what an airport was, but it's basically all the good things about an airport. Alright, next is Dolphin Shoals, and like I said, even though I'm not gonna, bring up, music will not make an impact to my ranking, I just want to go ahead and say that everybody knows what Dolphin Shoals is mainly famous for, arguably more famous than the track. It's the whole song itself and how the saxophone pretty much goes hard with the lick, if you will. Just got the crown cup, the special crown cup. Your neck hurts? I don't know what position you've been playing Mario Kart in, but you might want to watch your neck, my boy. That doesn't sound good. Alright, Dolphin Shoals, right? This track mostly takes place underwater. I don't know if there's ever been a track like this where it starts and pretty much ends underwater, if you will. But basically, start underwater. You can trick off some rings to get some boosts. You'll be greeted by dolphins swimming around you, which is a very nice touch. In fact, it's part of the rock formation that's there are shaped like dolphins, I would say. And basically you're driving around, and now you're on the inside of, I guess, the ocean that the dolphins are swimming in. You can boost off some pipes that spew out air currents, and then you drive along an eel, which is crazy. I don't think that's ever been done before either anymore. And then you come out, you're suddenly out of the water, just for a split second though. As soon as you make a turn and you glide it, and you glide off into the distance, you're suddenly back into the water, and before you know it, you finish the track. So, Dolphin Shoals. Again, most of the track takes place underwater, which I actually know that some people did not like that it was all where most of it was underwater. But I gotta say, for what they were able to accomplish with this track, it was very, very refreshing, quite literally and figuratively. Because, what is it? You're mainly driving underwater. You've got air currents going from pipes. You're driving on an eel, for crying out loud. I don't think there's many other tracks where you're driving on a living creature. So, I think for me, I'm gonna have to put Dolphin Shoals, probably an A tier behind Thwomp Ruins. I actually don't like Dolphin Shoals as much as Thwomp Ruins, but I think it does belong up there because it's definitely one of the better tracks in this game. Yeah.
For this one, at least for me, it's a nice course. I like the water bit. I like the thing that I personally don't care for, but it might just be my opinion. I do not care for the giant eel.
The giant eel. No, that's totally fair. I just think the giant eel is a very nice touch because again, as of right now, I can't recall if there's another track where you're driving on a living animal, you know, or like a living creature.
Yeah, true.
I see Mario's going crazy with the bread. You love to see it. All right, Electrodrome, one of the brightest tracks in this game, and let me just say, this track kind of reminds everybody of going to the club, all that stuff, getting your dance moves on, getting foot loose, all that stuff. Except it's a racetrack, so it's more like So, Electrodrome, there's so much going on in the background. I mean, there's lights. I mean, there's a huge disco ball that has the word Mario Kart on it. And the whole thing is just lights, lights, lights. It's incredible. So, you literally start off 2 seconds in, gliding down towards the track, or dance floor, I should say. And you start driving along, and at some point you get to the anti-gravity section, and not only while you're driving along the anti-gravity section, you're sideways, you're also leaving a trail of color behind you. Depending on what path you're driving on, you'll leave like a trail of pink or green, basically. And then you'll actually correspond to that path, or I think it might be the opposite, I don't 100% remember, but that's basically what it is. You're driving on either a pink or green path, and then you drive on some panels that light up as your wheels touch them, and you glide back down to the bottom, where then you basically finish the track off strong. Electrodrome, to me, fantastic track. By definition, if you can make a track a dance floor, I mean, this is basically what it would be. And I actually really do like the atmosphere of all the lights and stuff. And I do think that it's a very colorful track for what it is. Could it use a little more color? Yeah. But, you know, because there's obviously the whole dance floor idea and, you know, the disco ball, it makes sense why there's like a lot of white, a lot of, you know, grayish, purple, silver-ish kind of color scheme that you can get off of this track. So for me, Electrodrome is actually going to be, so far, the best A-tier track for me. I really like Electrodrome for the concept that it has. I do think there will be some tracks that will trump Electrodrome, but for right now, it's going to be the best A-tier track. Bread for days.
I like this course. It's nice. The one thing that I do really like is the piranha plants, like the coloring and how they like kind of have the glow to it with the beat of the music.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. The piranha plants do also kind of glow with the color scheme and to the music, and they do kind of bop to the music. You're right about that. That's something I did not mention.
Yeah, I also do really like the what you mentioned earlier about the panels as you go down and how they like glide out right before you glide. I really like that, but that was also good.
Yeah, again, brings a whole new meaning to a disco track, if you will. Alright. This next track here is a track that a lot of people have put at the very top of their tier list, and truthfully, I don't think I could agree more. So this is Mount Wario. Mount Wario is unlike any track I think has ever been made in any Mario Kart game, because for starters, we're all 12 racers are jumping out of a plane to boot. A plane that drops down onto Mount Wario is the starting line. So you basically jump out of the plane, and then you basically descend down the mountain. And also I should mention too, Mount Wario is not 3 laps around the track. Mount Wario is one of the few tracks in this game where it's a whole stretch, and it's 3 different sections. So again, you literally start by jumping out of a plane, and then you're making your way down the snowy part of the mountain. Actually, snow and ice. You start off on a little bit of snow, and then you go on ice, and right before the second lap is a nice ramp that you can shortcut off of if you can time it right, because a lot of the times you'll fall short if you don't time it right. But obviously with the mushroom you can also make up that difference. And then by the second lap, or the second section I should say, you're now inside the caverns, and you know you can do some tricks off some ice pieces, or you can just smooth sail down on the water that boosts you forward, which I think is a great concept that they implemented in this game, by being able to boost you with water. Or the current pushes you forward, I should say. Then, you're going to be in like a little outlook for a little bit, with some cones in there, just to make sure, you know, you're aware that there's a pit down there. And then you're driving on a dam with speed boosts. The Mount Wario Dam. That's crazy. And then you leap out again, off another trick ramp, and now you're driving on the snowy part again, this time with more trees, which may be the most annoying part of the track, but I think we just admire the beauty of the track so much that sometimes we forget that we're just running into a tree. Again, right after the dam, there's also a nice little shortcut that you can take with the glider, if you have a mushroom or something like that. A boost, basically. And then, the final lap of the track is probably my favorite part of the whole track, where it's basically the alpine ski slopes that you're going down. And some people, and I completely agree with this, some people think that it's a great reference to Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Winter Olympics, or just the 2014 Winter Olympics from Sochi, Russia, because Mario Kart 8 actually came out the same year. So how fitting is that? You know, again, great shout out to the Olympics. Something you should know about me is that I'm a huge nerd of the Olympics. So when I saw that the first couple of times, I was geeking out because it really did remind me of the Winter Olympics. So you're going through the ski slopes, and then you go down some more speed boosts, you glide off, you can go through some rings for boosts, and that's pretty much the end of the track, and you're greeted by a whole stadium of fans cheering you on. And all of that is happening on just this single track, by the way. All of this is happening, and not only is all of this happening, and is all of this background stuff going on too, you eventually get greeted by the audience, you know, by the third section cheering you on and stuff. Not only is all of this going on, but they even have, and again, this does not affect my ranking, but they have music for each individual section, different music, which is, again, you literally could not do a track any more justice than this. And again, I have to agree with a lot of people where they ranked this. A lot of people ranked Mount Wario as their number. A lot of people ranked Mount Wario as their number one track.
It's a nice downhill, I feel like, in that, like, once you get enough momentum going, especially with, like, some of the heavier cars, and you can go, like, really fast.
That makes absolute sense. Yeah, sorry, we started merging our thoughts about the track. But I think I do have to agree that Mount Wario may arguably be the best track in this entire game. Even if Mount Wario doesn't become the most, or the best track in this game for me by the end of this tier list, it's definitely, it'll probably be at least in top 3. But Mount Wario definitely gets at least an S rank for sure, if it does get bumped down. I don't know if it will, it might not, but I'm just saying, Mount Wario, it really is one of the best tracks that you could ever make in a Mario Kart game, period. Alright, that concludes the Star Cup. We are now going to move on to the Special Cup, and the first stage in the Special Cup is Cloud Top Cruise. We're all starting on a beanstalk. We're then driving onto some clouds, and then we're going to end up on an airship. And there's also like a couple of bouncers, I guess, like bouncers with the Bowser logo on them that you can bounce off of and do tricks. We will then eventually end up on an airship, and then we'll end up getting blasted off into some thunder clouds with thunder that could potentially shock you. Like, what in the world? That is, what a change of pace. You know, we're in a cheerful setting, and now we're in a very dark, menacing setting. Then eventually, as you keep going through some boosts, trying to avoid the lightning, you will then eventually glide out of there, end up on the beanstalk again, and finish the track. And there's a nice little shortcut on the leaves that you can take, if you can pull it off. So Cloud Top Cruise, nice idea for a track. First time I think we've ever been able to drive on clouds in any Mario Kart game, although I could be entirely wrong. There might be a different track like that, but obviously I'm not familiar with every Mario Kart game. But Cloud Top Cruise is a really cool concept. I don't think there's a whole lot going on in the background though, besides maybe some flying enemies and stuff, because obviously it's a sky-themed world. So I think I'm going to put, I think Cloud Top Cruise for me might be in, this is tough, because I think this is also a B-tier track.
Sorry, my internet cut out for like a split second, so that's why I left.
Oh yeah, no, you're okay. I also saw your message in chat, so it should be fine. Okay. I think Cloud Top Cruise for me, I think Cloud Top Cruise for me will now be my new best B-tier track. Alright, yeah. Next up is Bone Dry Dunes. Now, I will just go ahead and say this right now about desert tracks. They're my least favorite tracks in a Mario Kart game. And Bone Dry Dunes doesn't have a lot going for it that really convinces me otherwise. Bone Dry Dunes, you start, making a couple of turns. You eventually get a choice to either keep going left or right, or you can go through the middle with a ramp if you got a mushroom and stuff for a shortcut. You keep driving through most of these sand-filled tracks, and you you got dry piranha plants. You don't get to say that very often, but dry piranha plants can screw you over. And then you can make a choice. You can either choose to avoid the dry piranha plants through the normal sand track, or you can go through zero gravity and get some boosts. I don't really think either track is really that faster because the zero gravity track is a little bit of a longer path from what I remember. Either way, whichever path you take, you'll be gliding off both of those paths. And then you could land on one of the sand geysers that spout out from the bottom. There's a really difficult top shortcut that you can take, or that you could attempt to take. And I think it's the easiest to reach if you play 200cc. But if you do make it up to the top of that track, you will be rewarded with an extra item that could make the difference in your race. And the cool thing about this track, probably the coolest thing about this track, is that there are sand boats, literally toads sailing in the sand in their own custom boats, which is pretty cool. So again, Bone Dry Dunes doesn't do a whole lot for me. Oh, and also the cave where there's the top and the bottom shortcut, the cave is kind of shaped like Dry Bowser's head. I forgot to mention that too. Bone Dry Dunes doesn't do a whole lot for me, even though it's the newest desert track in the Mario Kart series. Again, I'm not a fan of desert tracks. I'm sorry. I don't really like desert tracks. Really, to be completely honest with myself. Yeah, I think Bone Dry Dunes is gonna be in I think it's below average, to be honest with you, even though it's a new track. I think I'm gonna put Bone Dry Dunes in D tier. Just because it's like a fresh take on desert tracks. But otherwise, it would probably be lower. And I think the sand boats that the toads sail in have a nice charm to it, but otherwise, I can't really see it being higher than that for me. Okay, Bowser's Castle. Bowser's Castle has a tendency to be the third track in every special cup, and holy nuts, is Bowser's Castle insane in this game. Just looking at Bowser's Castle from the beginning, at the starting line, already looks so menacing. You literally could not do Bowser any more justice with, how menacing his castle already looks. And then once you head into the castle, you're driving through stuff, there's so much stuff you have to dodge, including fire bars, sort of spiked balls. I mean, they're not really spikes, they're kind of more like stubs, or like stubbed balls. And, for the main attraction, a huge Bowser statue punching both sides of the track, like left to right, once you're on the zero gravity part. Once you escape that giant Bowser statue, you then glide off. You gotta try to avoid some lava geysers, lava spouts, and then you basically drift towards the end. And watch out for falling boulders as well, because those can also screw you over. And then, as even an added threat, starting by the second lap, you then have to dodge lasers coming out of the Bowser statue's mouths at the beginning of the second and third laps, which is insane. Again, so many obstacles to dodge in all of this, and there's no doubt that you may in fact struggle a tiny bit trying to dodge all of those obstacles. But I gotta say, this may be the best looking Bowser's Castle I think has ever happened. And yes, I know there's not a whole lot going on in the background because obviously, you know, you're in a castle, but for what it can offer, you know, in regards to the background, it's absolutely incredible. And like I said, Bowser's Castle just looks so menacing in this game. Now, I will also say too, the color scheme, there's not a whole lot in the color scheme of things, right? It's mainly just a lot of industrial colors and lava/volcano colors. So I will have to lower it just a tiny bit for that, but regardless though, Bowser's Castle looks absolutely incredible in this game. I think I'm going to give Bowser's Castle a low A rank. I think it will probably stay in low A. I don't think I will bump it down or anything like that. I do believe that at the very least, Bowser's Castle deserves a low A rank. Okay, well now we've come to one of the Rainbow Roads in this game, the newest Rainbow Road added to the Mario Kart series. This is the Rainbow Road that came when Mario Kart 8 debuted on the Wii U in 2014, and boy oh boy does it already take you for a loop. It starts out with you taking some wide turns. In fact, a lot of people will tend to fall off the turn right before the first glide ramp. You glide onto, I guess, what is a space station? I suppose with some
Yeah,
with some
satellite.
yeah, something like that. It's a satellite / space station type thingamajiggy and floating around in space. There's going to be a conveyor belt that will slow you down and a conveyor belt that will speed you up, and then you can choose to take either glider path, the left or the right. Doesn't matter because you'll both meet up in the middle anyway. You can get some sweet zero gravity boosts before eventually returning to normal gravity, and then that's how you finish the track. And there's a well-known shortcut that'll help you skip a good 5 seconds, of this track if you know exactly what you're doing. But I'm obviously not going to spoil what that shortcut is, because that's for people to find out, and there's probably videos on it at this point, so you could probably search up and figure it out. So this Rainbow Road looks very good. Color scheme is obviously there because it's a Rainbow Road. I will say though, a lot of people don't like this Rainbow Road because it looks very industrialized. Like, most of the Rainbow Roads in the past do not look like they were man-made, but this one does, and that's why a lot of people don't like this Rainbow Road, or at least don't like it as much as the others. And I kind of agree to a sense that I still love this Rainbow Road. I'm a mega Rainbow Road fan, so I will love any Rainbow Road unless they really make one poorly. But I do have to agree with people that this Rainbow Road is my least favorite because it looks so man-made. The other Rainbow Roads, again, don't have any signs that it was ever created by any Italian plumber, by any toad, or by any Shy Guy, or by any random person down the street. No, this one, like all the other Rainbow Roads, don't have that sense in anybody at all. This one, though, man, there's a lot that could be made in some Rainbow Road like that. But, like I said, still love the Rainbow Road to death. This one will at least get an A tier for me. It doesn't deserve S rank because of how man-made it is. But, where do I want to put this? I think I'm going to actually put this behind Electrodrome. So it's pretty high up on the list for A tier. But, again, it's very man-made, which is why I don't think it should, I don't think it deserves S rank. So, that does it for me. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
At least for me, for this Rainbow Road, I don't really like the whole, like, the industrialization type thing that you were mentioning. The turns, I feel like, are a little too wide, and especially on, like, 200cc, you're gonna be flying off like crazy if you don't time those turns right. And then also, the one thing I do really like is the toads in spaces floating around. That I don't know what it is about it, but that's what I like about it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I get the wide turns, though. There's always wide turns in every Mario Kart, so I don't completely blame them for going with the wide turns. But I will say, these are some of the widest turns I think any Rainbow Road has ever received. Also, I apologize that there were ads on the side of this tier list. I just got rid of them because I realized that they were pretty much just there. So I apologize for that. But anyways, that actually concludes all of the new tracks that were added into Mario Kart 8, at least for now. Now we're going to go into a lot of retro tracks, and we're starting with the Shell Cup, and the first track in the Shell Cup is Moo Moo Meadows. Now, I will say there will be a nostalgia factor in this one because as a kid who owned Mario Kart Wii, and that was the first Mario Kart game, I played so much Moo Moo Meadows, and I loved the track as a kid. It hasn't changed much since then, though. I mean, the only real thing that we've got going on is a glider section where the windmill is towards that, and basically you're driving through most of the meadows with cows in them. I mean, hey, we got HD udders, though. That's something. And well, yeah. I mean, the track mainly looks the same from the Wii version. It doesn't really have too much going on for it, except again the glider combination that was added in since 7 was out. I love this track. Or at least I loved this track when I was playing it in Mario Kart Wii. But obviously it looks the same as now. The nostalgia factor will bump this up a little bit, but again, there are obviously what's it called better tracks in this game. This game is mainly a lot of green, black and white, and brown with shades of other browns in there. So I'm gonna put Moo Moo Meadows. Where would I put Moo Moo Meadows? I think because of the nostalgia factor for me, I'm going to put Moo Moo Meadows at the end of B tier. So this will go right behind Mario Circuit. Because again, while I love this track, it doesn't have a lot going for it in terms of the foreground and the background, and the track itself is mainly just a dirt road. That's it. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. And even though simplicity in some ways will rank some of these tracks higher because obviously certain simple things are better than other simple things. Moo Meadows for me, while it has that nostalgia factor, it just, to me, compared to so many of these other tracks, it just doesn't deserve, you know, too much praise. Okay, next track. Mario Circuit from the Game Boy Advance. I think there have been Mario games where, yeah, there's definitely been a Mario game where, what is it called? More than one Mario Circuit was included in there. So, the Game Boy Advanced version of Mario Circuit. I did not know this at first either. Here's a little history thing for you guys, because I did not find this out until I actually watched then a bunch of tier list videos about these tracks. The Game Boy Advance Mario Circuit, you'll notice that there is a zero gravity portion, like a zero gravity sort of like U-shaped part of the track at the very beginning, and that part of the track is actually held up by a giant mechanical hand, which oddly enough was a toy from Nintendo back in the 1960s. So this is like this is a reference from 60 years ago, basically. Which is incredible that they managed to include that in any track, really. I mean, the fact that they have that mechanical hand actually being useful in a game like this, that's honestly an incredible feat that I think almost nobody will recognize. Again, unless you really did your research and looked into Nintendo's toys and stuff like that. But obviously most people don't really recognize Nintendo for toys anymore. They recognize Nintendo for their games. Which is why, again, this kind of known fact can easily be looked over. So the Game Boy Advance Mario Circuit, besides the big mechanical hand, you basically start off, you know, driving, and you trick off the first ramp onto that zero gravity section that's being lifted up by that mechanical hand. Then for the most part, all you have to really watch out for is oil slicks and some tires that are kind of off to the side. There's also a little glider section shortcut that you can take if you have a mushroom, which kind of amplifies the experience of the track a little bit more. But otherwise, that's it. It doesn't have a whole lot going for it. I will say though that me finding out about that mechanical hand part is really cool. And because of that history factor, because I was not gonna rank the Game Boy Advance Mario Circuit very high, but because of that nostalgia factor, I might give it a decent rank. I think I'm gonna put. Excuse me. I'm gonna put the Game Boy Advance. What's it called? The Game Boy Advance Mario Circuit in C tier, so the average tier. Right behind Mario Kart Stadium, but in front of Twisted Mansion. Because I do like the classic Mario Circuit a little bit more than Twisted Mansion, actually. Alright. Next track. Cheap Cheap Beach from the Nintendo DS. I will say, as somebody who did borrow some of my friends' DS's to play this track, it was cool for what it was. Again, this was brand new back in the DS version. So this track is like 10, maybe almost 15 years old at this point, if you will. And it got an HD upgrade in this game. So in Cheap Cheap Beach, one of the new things they added was a glider section to start you out. Pretty much you glide down towards the beach. And then you can actually go drive underwater. You can take a lot of shortcuts with mushrooms through there. And then at that point, after you finish driving on the beach, you drive on a dirt path to the end. You just gotta watch out for a big mud puddle, and then you can trick off a couple ramps. Nothing too crazy. It is a beach setting, which means it's got nice water to it. And you do get a lot of HD fish flying around and potentially trying to hit you along with some palm trees. You do also have a lighthouse in the background at some point, which is kind of cool. And Cheap Cheap Beach is one of those tracks that I do like the aesthetic of, because the beach theme sounds very, very relaxing to me. So I think for me, Cheap Cheap Beach, I think Cheap Cheap Beach might go in front of Mario Circuit, like Mario Kart 8's Mario Circuit. Yeah, I'm gonna put Cheap Cheap Beach in between Sweet Sweet Canyon and Mario Circuit in B tier. And a lot of these tracks for me, I think, are just gonna be in a decent tier because I mean, I don't really have like what is it called? I don't really have a, what is it like? I will never hate any of these tracks. Like, I can appreciate like where all these tracks came from in their respective games and such, but obviously there are tracks that are like way more than others.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but back on the Nintendo 3DS, I got my copy of Mario Kart 7 with my 2DS. This was like my all-time favorite course. I don't know what it was, but I really like the beach vibes and also like the laid-back music for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's just something about laid-back music and laid-back scenes that just really make you feel a certain way. Also,
Right.
Joker, welcome! Hey, yo, guess who it is? I have returned again. Well, welcome, sir. Good to see you. We are in the middle of ranking every track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because this was the first game I ever owned on the Switch, and I already ranked some stuff from the second game I ever owned on the Switch, so I figured might as well do this. To round up the Shell Cup, we have Toad's Turnpike, and there's really not a whole lot to this track. We're basically doing some loops around cars, around real-life cars. I think this track is also in the shape of a figure 8, like Mario Kart 8's Mario Kart Circuit, which I mean that's kind of cool and stuff. And I will say too, this is probably the track where you're going to see a lot of sponsors, like the most sponsors you'll ever see in any Mario Kart track. Like the sponsors will also show up in the credits after you beat a certain amount of cups. But if you want to get a good look at the sponsors like Toad Services, or Roy Smooth Sounds, or DK Energy Drink, that's where you'll find them on this track, on some of the cars and stuff, on some of the vehicles, I should say. Because there are vehicles you can trick off of, there are some vehicles you can glide off of, and that's what gives it like an extra element to this track. But besides that, it's really just a highway loop. I mean, you could switch it up a little bit and go on some zero-gravity walls and change that up a little bit for you, but that's it, and the cars aren't even really that much of a threat, because they drive in the same direction as you, not in the opposite direction trying to screw you over. Because if I recall correctly, there's a track in Mario Kart Wii called Moonview Highway that does that, and that track to me is way more hectic than Toad's Turnpike. So that makes Toad's Turnpike for me kind of underwhelming, and it is also difficult to catch up on this track if you do fall behind. So I think for me, Toad's Turnpike, I think might get. This definitely is going on the more bottom of my tier list, but I'm not sure where I want to put this. I mean, I don't think there's going to be another track where you'll see like more sponsors and stuff. So I mean, I guess it has that going for it. That's a nice touch. But nah, you know what? I think I'm gonna rate Toad's Turnpike in E tier. There's not a whole lot for me that goes along in this track, and again, if you really want like a more hectic version of cars coming in, screwing you over, then you should just play Moonview Highway on Mario Kart Wii.
For me, honestly, this was one of my more least favorite courses, just from like all the cars I had to go around and then also having to deal with. And I didn't really care for the setting of it as well. I just kind of felt like it was trying to recreate like a highway. I know that I was trying to recreate somewhat of a highway, but I don't know what it was, but I keep getting like Seattle traffic vibes from it, because traffic up there is bad. So
yeah, that sounds kind of relatable, to be honest. All right. So that's the Shell Cup. So now we're gonna move on to the Banana Cup, and the first track in the Banana Cup is Dry Desert. Probably my least favorite desert track in this game. Least favorite. Right. So there is like a Sphinx in the background that they have, which I believe they had in previous desert tracks anyway. You're basically driving along a lot of sand, avoiding pokies, and maybe doing some tricks off of stuff that's fallen. And there's a huge sand whirlpool in the middle. Whatever. I think there might be a specific term for that, but I don't remember. There's like a specific sand whirlpool there. And suddenly guess what? At the end of the track, it's actually not dry because you actually go into an oasis. You can do tricks off the water spouts or off the little hills in the oasis. And you basically finish off the track there. Maybe you can pull off a nice shortcut or two while you're going through the sand and stuff. But that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot going for it besides the oasis, which doesn't make the desert that much, which makes the desert a little less dry, I should say. And that might be the only reason why I'm willing to put this desert track a little higher than where it would have been. Because I think I would have put this desert track in straight up F tier. Because of that oasis, I'm gonna put it in E tier, behind Toad's Turnpike.
For me, I didn't. This is also like one of my other least favorite stages, or courses. Sorry, not stages. I just didn't like the desert vibe of it. It just felt a little clunky and weird to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Out of all the terrain you could drive on, I'm just not a fan of the idea of driving on sand, really.
Right. Like, there are so many better options for them to do.
Alright, next is Donut Plains 3. Donut Plains 3 dates all the way back to one of the very first Mario Karts ever, and I'm surprised that there were at least 3 different Donut Plains tracks back then. But basically what you do is, or how the track goes is you're driving. There's actually a lot of sharp turns in Donut Plains. There is going to be some occasional water that you're going to go through as you progress onto the track. And then towards the end you'll have some Monty Moles to avoid. And there actually is like a little fortress in the background that I believe you notice at the beginning or the middle of the track, somewhere around there basically. And there's a colorful border that basically protects the entire track and protects you from somehow going out of bounds, although I think it's still possible for you to go out of bounds. For a lot of people, from what I watched of their tier list, this is probably one of the most forgetful tracks in this game. Like, you forget about this track very easily, and I'll be honest, I do I feel the exact same way. And I think Donut Plains might be my least favorite track in this game. It might just be, because I'm gonna go ahead and put Donut Plains 3 in F tier. Like, I'm sorry if y'all have a nostalgic factor to Donut Plains 3, but I just don't see it. There's just a lot of sharp turns, which I guess I understand, but there's really not a lot going on for this track. In fact, there's really not much going on for this track at all, besides the fortress you see in the background. Did you want to say something?
The only thing that I really liked about this track was Monty Mole. Like, that's it.
Right, yeah, the Monty Moles that screw you over.
Besides them screwing people over, it's still one of my more favorite ones.
Right, yeah. No, I understand that. Alright, next is Royal Raceway from the Nintendo 64. Now, I did not know this about the first version of this when it came out on Mario Kart 64, but apparently, in the original Royal Raceway, you could drive inside the castle. You can't do that anymore in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You can just get a view of the castle, which you get a view towards the final stretch of the track. But let's go through the whole track. So basically, you start off with an audience cheering you on. There's confetti going on to let you know that it really is a Royal Raceway. There's hot air balloons as well with Toads and other Koopas, residents of the Mushroom Kingdom, being in them. And, well, yeah, then you start off, there's like a couple of sharp turns. You can get some really nice drifts in there, though, if you know how to time it right. There's a ramp shortcut right before you take off on another airstrip off Boost and onto the gliding section, where then you might have to try to avoid some hot air balloons. And then there's Peach's Castle in the background over there. And then you take some more sharp turns, and you're pretty much at the end. So, Royal Raceway. Decent looking track. There's quite a bit of interactive stuff going on in the background. What's it called? I know that, again, there's a lot of nostalgia for this. Unfortunately, again, they did take out the part where you can drive alongside, or you can drive inside Peach's Castle, I would say. So now that I learned about that, I'm like, well, it would be really cool to be able to drive inside the castle. So let me think here. Where would I put this, because I might just put this, because, again, I don't really have a nostalgia factor to this. I mean, yeah, there's confetti, there's hot air balloons, there's like a decent, pretty pink, there's like a decent, like, pinkish hue in the sky and stuff, but I really would not rank this higher than C rank. I think I'm gonna put Royal Raceway in between the Game Boy Advance version of Mario Circuit and the Twisted Mansion. I think that's where I'm going to put that. Next is DK Jungle, and DK Jungle is actually not that old of a track. It was introduced in Mario Kart 7 for 3DS, so this track is, I think, 10 years old, something like that. It's not as old as the other tracks. So I will say though, unlike most of these other tracks when I've been beginning to mention a nostalgia factor, DK Jungle, there's a huge, and I mean huge nostalgia factor that hits for me, because I've not played every single Donkey Kong Country game, but I have played the newer ones, like Country Returns and Tropical Freeze, and I beat them both 100%, literally collected every single, well, not the puzzle pieces, but I've collected all the Kong letters, if you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So there's a huge nostalgia factor in this for me. And, I mean, it literally could not be more Donkey Kong Country than you could expect to think. So, you start in the jungles, and I believe Squawks is actually there. Squawks the parrot is actually going to greet at the starting line, which is really kind of cool. And you start by going through the jungles, and you bounce off one of the flowers that also bounces up Donkey Kong in the actual games. And then you have to drive through some tikis. You have to drive past some tikis from the actual games, and some frogs too when you get back into the jungle section a little bit. And you can either drive along the dirt path and get some boosts off the boost panels, or you can glide along that, and you basically enter into the golden temple of Old Banana. And you basically drive around the track, drive around inside the golden temple, and you glide out, and you're greeted by giant, I guess, tiki pillars. Again, those tiki pillars from the actual Donkey Kong game, the giant versions of them, that actually go ah, or something like that, and they blow out some air. So then you can actually kind of go swaying a little bit, and you basically end the track by going on the top of the bottom path. The bottom path being a little more difficult to go on, but if you can, you'll be able to shave off just a little bit of time, which may make the difference. So, DK Jungle for me, phenomenal track. Literally could not I don't think they could have literally replicated, what's it called, like the Donkey Kong Country series any better than this track. And I think this is the Donkey Kong, I think this may be Donkey Kong's, the best track they could dedicate to Donkey Kong. Because I know there was DK Summit from Mario Kart Wii, which was also cool. But I gotta say, I don't know. I don't know where DK Summit would really have a nostalgia factor in there. I mean, I don't even think there was a snow world in Country Returns. I mean, Tropical Freeze, that was like the whole theme of it. Really, was snow ladders and stuff. But I don't recall where DK Summit really have a nostalgia feel for being connected to Mario Kart. But DK Jungle really connects to the Donkey Kong Country series, and it's being made into a Mario Kart track. Oh, and I also forgot to mention too, when you're at the Tiki section, there's basically Donkey Kong's house with the word Kong on it, and then there's a DK barrel right next to the entrance. So again, really cool stuff. And I think there's also DK barrels scattered throughout the course anyway. So you know, if that's not enough DK barrels for you, there's going to be a couple more scattered throughout. So again, DK Jungle for me, amazing track. There is some zero gravity in there. That's in like the Golden Temple part, but that's really about it. But zero gravity doesn't have to make a track. It's really the whole composition of the track itself. And again, for me, DK Jungle has a huge nostalgia hit for me. So, again, as somebody who beat the games a lot, that's why this will get a pretty high ranking for me at least. DK Jungle, where would this go? I mean, it might get an S rank for me. But if not, it'll get a high A rank for me at least. I think I'm going to put DK Jungle. Oh man. You know what? I'll be nice about it. I'm gonna put DK Jungle and S rank right behind Shy Guy Falls, because I really do think DK Jungle is a phenomenal track. If anything, I'm gonna say DK Jungle gets like a low S tier and high A tier ranking for me. And I believe that concludes the Banana Cup. So now we're gonna move on to the Leaf Cup, starting off with Wario Stadium. Wario Stadium is a stadium unlike any other. I know there was Waluigi Stadium in the past, but now we got Wario Stadium, which in my opinion is a lot better than Waluigi Stadium. At least definitely, the colors seem a little more vibrant in this one. So you have a giant statue of Wario just to fill the stadium besides the audience. You start off by taking some boosts off and basically in the mud, if you will. And you'll have a couple of fire bars to avoid when you do some tricks off some bigger sand dunes. Then you'll have some zero gravity. You have a little bit of zero gravity to go on where you'll have to avoid more fire pillars. And then you'll come tricking down. And then you'll actually go underwater a little bit. The stadium's actually flooded. And then you glide into the finish line. Which again, really cool stuff. This is unlike anything I think a stadium course has ever had. So for me, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put this. Where would I put Wario Stadium? I think Wario Stadium will probably get a B rank for me as well, because it's not anything too crazy. I think Wario Stadium for me will actually go in between Sunshine Airport and Sweet Sweet Candy. I think that is where it will go, because I do like how they somehow include multiple dynamics of a stadium into I guess a track, if you will. I was gonna say Wario something, but then I kind of lost my train of thought. So the next track after that is Sherbetland. Now I will also go ahead and say this too. I'm not that big of a fan of like ice/snow tracks. I mean, obviously you saw with Mount Wario that's clearly an exception, because Mount Wario is 3 sections instead of 3 laps. But Sherbetland suffers from the whole 3-lap dilemma, where it's like it could have been something so much more if they had actually made it like 3 sections instead of 3 laps. So Sherbetland, there's some fireworks going on in the background. That's all cool and all that stuff. You start on snow, and then eventually you start transitioning into ice, where you could run into skating Shy Guys. They got rid of penguins for some reason, which I don't know why, but I mean, hey, I guess that, hey, you do you, I guess. Then you go inside the ice caves. Oh, and there is an underwater section too. When you're driving on the ice trying to avoid Shy Guys, you can also dip down into the water and get some boosts off, and then do a trick out of the boost into the caverns and meet up with the other racers. And then you transition back onto snow, and then onto ice again, where then you have to avoid more Shy Guys, more skating Shy Guys, and some icebergs at that point. And then you could also go into that underwater section as well and finish the track that way, or you could take the normal path and finish the track that way, or you could even, if you had a mushroom, you could take the gliding shortcut and finish the track that way. There's a few different ways you can actually finish the track. Sherbetland. I think that this will get, I mean, it's mainly a lot of ice. I don't really see how it really gets a whole lot better from that, if I'm being honest. And again, ice tracks are some of my least favorite terrain. But again, desert is probably my least favorite. I think I'm gonna put Sherbetland in, I think, D tier, honestly. In front of Bone Dry Dunes, because I do like Sherbetland more than Bone Dry Dunes. But as you can see, it's not by that big of a margin. Next up, we have probably what is one of the most creative tracks in this game. In fact, I think I've caught up with the soundtrack, because the music to this is playing right now. Music Park. And in other countries, this track is actually called Melody Motorway. But in America, we call it Music Park. So, Music Park is one of the most creative tracks I think I've ever seen in Mario Kart. When I first played this on the 3DS, I never owned a 3DS, again, borrowed from other people. When I first played this track on the 3DS, my mind was blown, like, by how creative this track is. So they kind of introduce, at the very beginning of the track, they introduce the smaller versions of these like little cute music notes that kind of just go up and down with the music, which is a nice little touch already at the beginning. And then when you start racing on the track, you're basically drifting alongside pianos, xylophones, and marimbas, and it makes noise for every key that you drift across, which is an amazing touch. And then, like, in between the piano parts and the marimba and the xylophone parts, you got piranha plants that are also moving along to the beat, but will hit you if you get too close. And then after that, you can either just trick off and continue on the course, or you can glide along the course, and then you'll have music notes that bounce along, that kind of bounce every few beats, and you can do tricks if you time it perfectly, without ramps. Actually, that's maybe one of the few times you can actually do tricks without doing ramps, which is insane. And then once you get out of that section, you can either choose to take the normal route, you can take a shortcut through the little grass patch that's at the end, or you can shortcut off a drum for an outstanding musical performance. Music Park to me would be like the ultimate musician's race course. You know, you really can't get any better than racing alongside pianos, marimbas, xylophones, each individual key making a noise every time the tires touch those notes. It's absolutely incredible the amount of work you put into this track. Again, one of the most creative tracks I think in this game. I think I know where I'm putting Music Park. I think I'm gonna put Music Park in S tier. Behind DK Jungle, yeah, you know, I think behind DK Jungle, because I still have a big nostalgia hit with DK Jungle. But Music Park again is also up there with the big guys for sure.
Yeah, I really liked Music Park. That was like one of my favorite ones, especially on the 3DS. I just really like the music, and then how the little orb dudes just like bop to the music.
I gotta say, Music Park, again, one of the most creative tracks that Nintendo could ever think of. And again, this is a music nerd's dream right here. As somebody who isn't really studying music, but does have a lot of knowledge about what a music major would learn because of a certain individual, I can definitely relate to why this track would be amazing for a lot of people. N64, or Yoshi Valley from the N64 version. This track probably has the most split paths you could ever take in an entire game, and this is based off Yoshi, so in the smack diddly middle of the entire thing, you'll have some stones, and one of them is actually shaped like Yoshi's head. Kinda cool. You'll start off by racing, and you'll start off by just racing just for a tiny bit, and then you already have to make a decision with so many split paths. There's so many of them from going on the outside and tricking to taking a cannon and shooting yourself to going underneath and coming out the other side. Then you'll make a few more turns, and towards the end you'll come towards a giant Yoshi egg that will screw you over if you get hit by it. And then you'll finish the track, and you could take a potentially massive shortcut if you have mushrooms. Yoshi Valley, mainly a lot of dirt and grass. I know that there are some people in my main gaming community that really have a nostalgia feel for this track, but personally, I don't have that. I didn't grow up with the N64 Mario Kart. So, for me, I think this might be, at the very least, I think we'll go ahead and put this in C tier. I'll put this in C tier, actually behind Twisted Mansion. I'm not really big on how Yoshi Valley is mainly just running dirt paths with some grass in there if you feel like taking some shortcuts. I will give it props though for having one split path to take, so that no two playthroughs on Yoshi Valley are ever the same. Alright, I think that concludes the Leaf Cup, and now we're on to the Lightning Cup, starting with Tick-Tock Clock. Tick-Tock Clock is literally a clock setting, if you will. Never did we ever imagine that we'd ever have to drive in a clock-type setting. So, Tick-Tock Clock came from the DS version, so it's already been a thing since then, and you literally are on the inside of a clock. So you start out pretty much at the starting line, which the starting line is already a giant alarm clock in itself. Then you basically continue to go on into the heart of the clock. gonna have to avoid some pendulums along the way, and you can either trick or glide into the gear portion of the clock. And then towards the end, you'll have some conveyor belts to go on. One of them's good, one of them's bad, and that's basically the track. So, in terms of terrain, we've never had to drive on a clock before, and I think because of how unique that is, you know, that will definitely push it up higher on the rankings, but I don't know. It's just the idea of driving around in a clock isn't that huge to me, but I can definitely understand why it would be for a lot of people because it's a clock. It's so different from driving on a dirt path or an actual asphalt road, so I can understand that. Where would I put this? I think I'm going to put TikTok clock in C tier. I think maybe in front of Mario Circuit, maybe in between Mario Kart Stadium and the Game Boy Advance version of Mario Circuit. Because again, a clock, driving in a clock is so unique, and you'd never think, when you think of terrain, the first thing that comes to mind probably wouldn't be a clock. But, hey, that's so different. So I will say that a clock makes for a very interesting terrain for a race course. That's why it's where it is on my list. Piranha Plant Slide from the DS's older cousin, the 3DS. Piranha Plant Slide is basically just a big super big. You start just outside of it, and then you eventually come across the water that pushes you forward. And then you basically go inside, you got some piranha plants to look out for, some Goombas to look out for, eventually keep moving along, and then you go inside, and then you go on the inside portion where now you're underwater. And there's more piranha plants you have to look out for, all through pipes, by the way. These are all through pipes. And then you come out the other end from gliding, and that's pretty much the track. And you gotta watch out for more Goombas. There's also a shortcut that you can take through the cardboard bush with a mushroom. And that's pretty much that. Piranha Plant Slide also doesn't do a whole lot for me in terms of creativity. Because, I mean, you are mainly inside a sewer, I get that. I get that there's not a whole lot of room for background stuff. But it doesn't have the same effect from its Bowser's Castle, where the obstacles you would have to dodge are unique. Or I guess the complexity of what it would look like on the inside of the level. It's mainly just going through pipes with your car in it. So, Piranha Plant Slide for me is going to be... Where's this going? I think Piranha Plant Slide for me is going to be in C tier, behind Twisted Mansion, but in front of Yoshi Valley. I think that's where that would go. Next up, Rumble Volcano. So the music playing right now for this track. So Rumble Volcano, there is a nostalgia factor here because I did play this with the Wii. Did not like this track as a kid, and I mean, Rumble Volcano is mainly just a giant volcano. So, what it really does have going for the volcano though is that there are like a couple of rock-sized item boxes that are I guess sort of making up a part of the volcano, I guess. So you start out on the volcano's sort of, I guess, sandy, coarse terrain. You'll do a trick off a ramp, and you'll go inside the heart of the volcano, and you'll continue forward until you glide on out of there, or you continue on the regular path. You gotta watch out for some fireballs coming down on you, and then you got some really difficult turns to make, whether you take the top path or the bottom path. Top path has a glider portion to kind of help you out a little bit, to catch up with the bottom path if you need to, and that's basically the track. But then it changes, like halfway through the whole race, because then certain parts will break off. And then you'll have to be wary of that, because you could fall into the lava and, cost yourself, some speed in that regard. Rumble Volcano is a track that, again, I grew up with. I didn't really enjoy the track too much back in Mario Kart Wii when I was a kid. Still kind of don't, to be honest with you. All they did was make it HD, and that was about it, with a couple of gliding parts in there, really. And that sort of adds just a tiny bit of blue color in what's otherwise a track that's full of yellowish, reddish, orange kind of colors. And there's not a whole lot in the background besides maybe other volcanoes. So I am going to put Grumble Volcano. Yeah, this is definitely going into D tier for me, because even though this came from the console that I played a lot of, I'm still not quite that big of a fan of this track. I think I'm going to put Grumble Volcano behind Bone Dry Dunes, actually, because, I mean, I don't know what it is, it's just, there's not much to grab me from the Wii version. Again, it's really just an HD version of Grumble Volcano with some gliding parts, and that's it. Really not a whole lot else going on.
Titus, I need to go for the night. I'm really tired.
Okay, yeah, no worries. But thanks for talking with me for a good portion of this track, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
Alright, yeah, have a good night.
Yeah.
Okay, next track is... Oh boy, actually, we're gonna have a field day with this one. This is Rainbow Road from the N64, my favorite Rainbow Road of the three. And here's what, and I mean, I guess you can kind of figure out why. So, Rainbow Road from the N64, from what I've heard from in the past when this was on the Nintendo 64, you did 3 whole laps of this entire thing. But obviously Nintendo thought that might be too long, and instead we're going to split it off into 3 sections, which still makes it a phenomenal track. And unlike the newest Rainbow Road, this one does not look like it's man-made. So what you're basically doing here is you are basically you're starting on the you're starting on the Rainbow Road. You're gonna drive down and boost along a few boost panels and rings, and then you're gonna take off with the glider and glide through a few more rings for more boosts, and then from there, the Tokyo drifts just do not stop. Really, for most of this track, it is absolutely incredible what you can do. And I mean, most of the track pretty much looks the same. You'll get greeted by a giant train with the Mario M on it that will spew out coins on certain parts of the entire stretch. You'll have to deal with some bouncing chain chomps. You can get some tricks off of them, but if you're not careful, you could run into the chain chomp. So that may cost you a little bit of time and money for that matter. And the final stretch, not a whole lot different. Basically, more of the same Rainbow Road that we know and love. More coins, more boost panels at the end, and you get to glide to finish out. So, I will say that maybe the only downside of this Rainbow Road is that it can be very difficult to catch up, because again, it is just one whole stretch. But otherwise, it is one of the most visually stunning tracks in this game, and it's one of the few tracks, again, that has that incredible feature of it being 3 different sections and not 3 laps of something. So, Rainbow Road for me, holy nuts, man, Rainbow Road for me is going to be in, can I grab this from here? Yeah, I can. Rainbow Road for me is going to be an S tier, right behind Mount Wario, because again, that 3-section idea of it is absolutely chef's kiss for the racing game that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is. That pretty much concludes the Lightning Cup, and now we have the Egg Cup. Our first track in the Egg Cup is Yoshi's Circuit from the GameCube, and I mean, no surprise here, the track looks like a Yoshi. It looks like the outline of a Yoshi, which is cool. Then, when you start the track, you'll take somewhat sharp turns. You could go through the waterfall if you have some mushrooms, and if you just keep racing on forward, you got some piranha plants to avoid. You could also get a trick off of the ramp off to the side just after the piranha plants, and then you just make the stretch towards the end. And maybe some more mushroom shortcuts there if you're lucky enough. Yoshi's Circuit, for what it is cool. The idea of it being shaped like a Yoshi is a nice homage to the actual dinosaur itself, which comes in all shapes and colors. I was almost going to say green. I mean, green is the main one, but there's obviously a lot more and all that stuff. But, what's it called? But, Yoshi's Circuit, there's not a whole lot going for the scenery besides that. I think I'm gonna put, Yoshi's Circuit in... it does have more color scheme to it than Yoshi Valley. I think I'm gonna put Yoshi's Circuit probably in between the Game Boy Advance Mario Circuit and Royal Raceway. I think that is where I will put it. Shy, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the hydrate. Our next track is Excite Bike Arena. And Excite Bike Arena is pretty much based off the game Excite Bike, which is very cool that Excite Bike got a track that made it into Mario Kart 8. The fact that there's even a reference to Excite Bike is pretty cool. So Excite Bike is really just a lot of tricks. It really is all about tricks because, I mean, that's what you do on bikes anyway. So the track is mainly just one big loop of sand and grass, but the cool thing about each lap is that the tracks and the mud kind of change positions each lap, so you never really know what you're going to get when you do start racing on here. So, Excite Bike Arena, you start by looping, you do a lot of tricks, you just avoid the mud. You can also there's also a lot of opportunities for cutting corners here because of mushroom boosts, and that's pretty much the whole track. I think it's cool that Excite Bike got a reference in Mario Kart, but well, I don't know, it just doesn't do a whole lot for me, really, because it really is just a lot of the same sand and grass, but because it is Excite Bike and something completely off from the Nintendo pages, I will give this a decent rank. And by quite decent, I mean literally literally the very bottom of B2. Quite literally the very bottom of B2. And thank you for the lurk as well, Shy, I appreciate it. Have a good night. Next track is Dragon Driftway. Very Asian theme, as you can already tell, and I mean, this whole track is the inside of a dragon and a lot of turns, because this is Dragon Driftway after all. So that's basically the whole track. You start on the inside of the dragon, and at times you'll be on the outside, you get a lot of zero gravity boosts and stuff, and you'll pretty much finish the track back on the inside. And I gotta say too, this is also a great reference because the dragon is actually one of the bosses in Super Mario Galaxy 2, and it's called Gobblegut, if you didn't already know that. So, as somebody who also played the Galaxy games like crazy, and beat them both 100%, got every single Power Star in both games, this also has a huge nostalgia hit for me in that regard. So Dragon Driftway, for me, I think is going to also be an S tier. I'm going to put it in C tier for right now so that I can actually move it up, because this does not belong in C tier by any means. I think this belongs in S tier. I would say probably before Dragon Driftway, yeah, Dragon Driftway. Or before Shy Guy Falls and after DK Jungle. Or, I still said that wrong. After Shy Guy Falls and before DK Jungle. Dragon Driftway and DK Jungle, again, both had huge nostalgia hits for me. And that's why, like, I think Dragon Driftway deserves way more credit than it probably gets from most tier lists out there. The last track in the A Cup is Mute City, the first of 2 F-Zero tracks. And for those of you who don't know, F-Zero is Captain Falcon's home series. So I mean, this is pretty epic right here that we're getting one of the fastest racing games come to life in an actual Mario Kart track. You start on the colorful F-Zero track, and you basically start zooming, if you will. You start zooming, you go off the first trick ramp, the first boost panel, and you get some zero, and you're on to some zero gravity as it is, and you continue to just keep drifting along the sharp turns until you pretty much get to the end. And there's a sweet shortcut that you can take if you take a sharp enough turn and have a mushroom ready in handy. And let me say, one of the most innovative parts about this track is the fact that the fact that the coins are actually in like the colorful sidelines of the track, and you collect coins like there's no business, which is one of the most creative things they've ever done with the coins in this game. So F-Zero, or not F-Zero, but Mute City is getting a pretty high place on this list. I think Mute City for me is going to be in A tier. I'm not sure if that's where it's going yet. I'm gonna look here. Where do I have everything? I think F-Zero is gonna go in between Rainbow Road and Thwomp Road. I think that's a pretty good spot for Mute City. And here okay, oh boy. Alright, so now we're on to the Triforce Cup. Oh, hello, Nick. Thank you for the host. I appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. We're ranking every single course in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And right now we're currently at the last 12 courses. We're now on the Triforce Cup, and we're on to a course that I think not a lot of people liked when the Wii version came out, or maybe a lot of people liked. I don't know, but this is Wario's Gold Mine from Mario Kart Wii. I really do remember this track a lot from owning Mario Kart Wii because, well, this track, let's just say, to say the least, I think was not very enjoyable because basically what this track was is there were a lot of hills and valleys in regards to the actual gold mine track. Then when you get into the middle portion of the track, you gotta watch out for swoops, the bats that come in during the cave. And then you got some more dips before you eventually get into the main portion of the mine, which is the mine carts. And in the Wii version, if you hit a mine cart, not only would you lose the item you were holding, or the items you were holding, but they would knock you to the side instead of forward, so you also had a chance of being just completely knocked off the course. And that was a pretty horrible thing to happen to you in Mario Kart. You would lose a lot of time in that regard if that happened. But in the Switch version of this track, they actually did change it quite a bit. So, because specifically in the minecart section, because in the minecart section, instead of the carts screwing you over, they now give you 0 gravity boosts, because a good portion of Wario's Gold Mine in Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has anti-gravity. And instead of the minecart screwing you over, they now help you, which is incredible. And it actually makes taking the shortcut on the left a little easier. So, Wario's Gold Mine, color scheme's not that impressive still, even to this day, but I will say because the minecarts help you now, that definitely makes me like this track a little better. And also, can we just point out that this is the 3rd track that Wario has in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? That's pretty crazy, man. 3 tracks for Wario. I can't believe that. So I'm going to put Wario's Gold Mine. Again, the minecarts that now give you anti-gravity boosts now make this a more bearable track. Again, I did not like this. I was not a fan of this track back in the Wii, but I think in 8 Deluxe I'm more of a fan of it, but I still don't know if it even deserves even a decent rank here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put Wario's Gold Mine in. I think Wario's Gold Mine for me is gonna probably have to go in C tier, right behind Twisted Mansion and before Piranha Plant Slide. I think that's a pretty decent spot to put it in. So I think now Wario's Gold Mine is average, but I used to think it wasn't great. So there you go. Next up, the last Rainbow Road in this game, the Rainbow Road from the very first version of Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart. This Rainbow Road, for some reason, Nintendo loves to remaster. But it looks better than ever in this game. I mean, the colors just pop out here. If they didn't already pop out in N64's Rainbow Road, they pretty much pop out here. You still got the classic rainbow swamps, now in HD, looking even better. And they still give you those boosts that you can get when they the track. And what's it called? You can just bounce off of them and all that stuff. Not too many shortcuts here. There's like a couple of ramps you can trick off of. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot of catching up on this track. And it's still the same old Rainbow Road that made a lot of people suffer in regards to what's it called? Because there's just a lot of sharp turns and really not a lot of room for error. And also, again, not going to affect my ranking here, but they also somehow made the song sound good, because there's a lot of dissonance. A lot of notes that really shouldn't match up together, but somehow Nintendo makes it work. And that's kind of an incredible feat in itself. So, Rainbow Road from Super Mario Kart. This one, I think I know where this is going. This one is simple, but I mean it's mainly just flat. But again, a lot of vibrant colors here. I mean, it's a classic. I think I'm gonna put this Rainbow Road actually in probably the highest A tier spot. Hold on, wait, no. Yeah, highest A tier spot. So it's even gonna go before Electrodrome. Highest A tier spot. I don't think it quite deserves S because again it's very flat, but Who knows, if Nintendo decides to alter this course a little bit one day, we may just have the best version of Super Mario Kart's Rainbow Road. Next up is Ice Outpost. So this track here, you got some toads in little outfits and stuff, little, I guess, parkas, stuff to keep them warm for this wintry track. And you start on, I guess, 2 split paths basically, because you're already technically starting on a green and a yellow path. But then it's like, then it splits even more as the track becomes more recognizable. And that's basically the whole track. Even with the zero gravity part, you're still switching back and forth between the yellow road and the green road. Now, I will say though, this is considered Ice Outpost, but for the most part, you're not really driving on ice. Like, you're not. And I know the whole like, the only time you're really ever driving on ice is when you're taking the shortcuts. But, what's it called? Yeah, I don't know, that's kind of interesting. And I know I said I'm not a fan of ice tracks, but I am kind of genuinely shocked by how little you do drive on how little you drive on ice, as compared to the 2 paths that you're taking. So, I mean, hey, I will say, since I'm not that big of a fan of ice tracks, I guess that does make it a little better for me. Where would I put this, though? Ice Outpost. I think I'm gonna put Ice Outpost probably in between Royal Raceway and Twisted Mansion. I think that's where I'd put it. To me, it's just kind of an average track because we're not racing on much ice anymore. But I mean, you're still just racing on 2 split paths, which I mean, you know, that's kind of just whatever, really. Next up, Hyrule Circuit. The first track ever dedicated to the Legend of Zelda series. And this track is awesome. For one thing, the coins are replaced with rupees, the currency in Zelda, so that's already incredible enough, and so much of Hyrule, or at least a good portion of Hyrule, is dedicated. So you start by racing along the dirt path, and you'll encounter some rupees and stuff, and you can take some mushroom shortcuts off ramps. I said ranks, but it should have been ramps. And then you glide off, and you're basically at that point entering a part of Hyrule Castle while passing the Hyrule Village. And if you're lucky, you'll see a ramp kind of appear in front of the Master Sword, which you can take, get in the middle, get yourself a little anti-gravity boost from the Master Sword. But if you're not that lucky, you'll just go to the left or the right of the Master Sword, and you'll come out, and you'll finish on the dirt path with, instead of piranha plants, I think they are called Deku Babas. I could be wrong, though. I believe that's what some people were saying, though, when they were mentioning their tier list. I do not know Zelda enemies as well as other people. In fact, I will admit I was not a Zelda fan until I got Breath of the Wild and really enjoyed it. And now I'm actually on the path to trying to complete Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Hyrule Circuit. Awesome track. Really love what they did with it. And I mean, they make Link playable in it, so... And with this Master Cycle Zero from Breath of the Wild 2, mind you. So... Hyrule Circuit, where does this go? I think this is definitely going to go in A tier, but where? I think this is actually... I actually kind of like this a little bit better than Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road, I'm not going to lie. I think this is going to go in, Well, what the heck? Okay, hold on. I'm going to move this up. This is going to go in... Right there, A tier. Between Electrodrome and Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road. Now, we are on to the Crossing Cup. We're down to the last 8 courses, folks. Again, I don't know how long this is going to be when I actually edit this, but yeah, again, prepare for a long, in-depth discussion. The first course in the Crossing Cup is Baby Park, and Baby Park is basically just 7 laps around a pink and blue path. Now, sometimes it can be pretty hectic, but I mean, that's really all it is. And sometimes you can cut your corners a little bit with the little grass patches with some mushrooms and stuff, but again, that's really it. There is a lot of stuff going on in the background, I will say, which is why I'm willing to like push this up a little bit from the very bottom, because originally Baby Park 3 was gonna get like just gonna straight up get F, like Donut Plains 3, but because there's a lot going on in the background, I'm willing to put Baby Park at E tier. But where though? I mean, I guess it's the best E-tier track. Because again, a lot going on in the background, including a roller coaster, a merry-go-round, a carousel type thing. A lot of stuff going on. It's basically like water park, if you will. A water park is a much better version of Baby Park. Next up, Cheeseland. So, Cheeseland, a desert track. Not really a fan of those, but it is all cheese, so I mean, I will give it some props. I mean, when you first start out on racing, there's like some holes in the course that you can do tricks off of, kind of like Swiss cheese. And then there's also like a giant shortcut as well, with also a giant piece of Swiss cheese that you can take with a mushroom. You keep going on, you're just basically driving on cheese, or cheese maybe mixed in with some sand in there. You'll have to avoid a couple of chain jumps along the way. And there's also a couple of nice gliding shortcuts that you can take if you have mushrooms. And you could actually really make a comeback on this course. And this comes from Super Circuit, I believe, the Game Boy. So, for this one, for Cheeseland, this might be my favorite desert course. So, I think I'm gonna rate this. I mean, I've already rated the other desert tracks pretty low. Yeah, you know what? I think Cheeseland for me, because it's cheese, I'm gonna put it at the very bottom of B tier. This may be my favorite desert course until the end of time, basically. I don't know if there could really be a more creative desert track than Cheeseland for what it is. And I'm already considering it decent, even though, again, I'm not a fan of desert tracks. But yeah. Next up, we got Wild Woods. Wild Woods, kind of crazy because guess what? You start off the track at anti-gravity up, I guess, a tree trunk, I guess? I don't know. Like, you start that. Remember how in Shy Guy Falls you were driving up waterfalls? Well, in Wild Woods, you start with your wheels clinging on to the top of a tree trunk. And then you continue driving there, you continue driving along some tree trunks, and then you're on a plank, you're on like a plank bridge, you glide off, then you're on some water that propels you forward, and then you've got some moving lily pads with boost panels on them, and then you go back to zero gravity, and in which case then you can take the regular plank path, or you can take a shortcut, if you have some mushrooms, back onto the tree trunk that your wheels were once clinging on. Pretty cool idea for a track that's based off, again, some Wild Woods. Now where would this go on my tier list? Because again, it is a creative idea. You start at the top of a tree trunk. I mean, it doesn't really get any fancier than that in the woods. Wild Woods for me, I think this is gonna be another B tier, y'all. I think I'm gonna put Wild Woods. I think I'm gonna put Wild Woods. I think I'm gonna put Wild Woods right behind Cheap Cheap Beach, Mario Circuit. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good fit for it. All right, and the last track in the Crossing Cup is Animal Crossing. And I mean, if you didn't already know this, no two playthroughs on Animal Crossing may be the same, because the Animal Crossing track might actually change based on seasons, because there's a winter, spring, summer, and fall version of this track. Really cool stuff. And I mean, there really isn't much I can say to describe the tracks, because again, the scenery will change every time depending. What I will say is that there are always some trees at the beginning. There's always a glider ramp afterwards where you then can collect item boxes floating on balloons, which is cool. And then you drop down. You're gonna go through a little bit of water from a waterfall. You glide forward. You get another boost panel off. You could run into Rossetti on the way back to the starting line / finish line. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Oh, and the coins are bells, by the way, not rupees. So also another cool thing about the track. And obviously you'll get a lot of Animal Crossing cameos like Isabelle and the Nooks and some of the villagers that live in Animal Crossing. So really cool concept overall, the fact that your experience can change every time you play this track. Now, where does this go on my list? I think it's a pretty solid track, but Alright. I think that this track for me is gonna go, I think, at the top of B tier. I think it is going to be my favorite B tier track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because the idea of all the seasons is great, and all the scenery that can come along, or all the various activities basically. Like there's the snow fellas, or whatever they're called, the snowmen that are whatever. They have a specific name. I already forgot it. But the snowmen that you can make in winter, and the piles of leaves in autumn, all that stuff that contributes to what the seasons look like is very, very cool. Alright, now before I continue on the last 4 tracks, I'm going to take a quick swig of water real quick, even though nobody redeemed a hydrant. I kind of need it. Alright, here we go. Last 4 tracks. This last cup here is called the Super Bell Cup. And here we go. First track is Neo Bowser City from the 3DS. Okay, I will say here, for the record, that even though Bowser's logo is kind of just pasted everywhere, there really is not a clear indication that this is Bowser's City. I mean, it's a nice looking, it's a very, like, dark kind of looking city with a lot of neon lights all over the place, but it really doesn't signify in any way, shape, or form that this is Bowser's City. And, I mean, it is raining pretty much the entire time, too. So you start, you take a sharp right turn, you kind of just keep going through some Bowser signs, I guess, and, I mean, that's basically most of the track, and then at the very end, you glide forward, and there's also kind of like a little clown car that has some air currents going out of it that could push you up and potentially allow you to take a really big shortcut, but that's really about it. And, I mean, as much as there's a big city theme to it, I don't know, there really is just not that much of an indication that this is Bowser's City. That's kind of the thing that's always left a giant hole in my thoughts whenever I'm playing this track. I think I'm gonna have to put Neo Bowser's City in, honestly, a place that maybe some of you don't agree with, or maybe a lot of people do agree with. But even though Bowser's City has all those neon lights going for it, again, there's really no clear indication that this is Bowser's City. I like that, likewise, that Yoshi Valley is clearly Yoshi. So, I'm going to put, Bowser's City probably in... Yeah, you know what? I think I am going to put Neo Bowser City in D tier. It's going to be my favorite D tier track, though. Ribbon Road from... I think that's Super Circuit again. Yeah, this is Super Circuit. Okay, Rainbow Road from Super Circuit. When you were first playing on... If you played this track on the Game Boy Advance, it didn't seem that impressive at first, right? Well, guess what? In this game, it got a massive upgrade. And I mean a massive upgrade. Because now all the racers are kind of like in a child's imagination of like toy car racers on a ribbon road. Because all the racers are basically in a giant toy box with you know, other toys and posters, like an actual Mario Kart 8 poster in the background, and it's just amazing to see how much the course has actually transformed into being sort of like a miniature racetrack to like a child seeing this from the outside, but a normal racetrack to the racers themselves. So you start off on what is an actual ribbon road, and you jump off the first boost panel. You gotta watch out for some Mecha Koopas, don't want to run into those. Jump off another boost ramp, and then you got a couple of nice, or well, not nice, but what should I say? Then you can either take the normal blue ribbon towards the gliding part, or if you time it right, you can take a different shortcut on a different gliding path that will get you to the same towards the end of the track. And I think if you take the shortcut, don't quote me on this, I don't 100% remember, but if you take the shortcut, you may not have to deal with those clown cars, or clown car Jack-in-the-Box type toys. If you take the normal path, though, you will almost certainly have to deal with them. And then after that, you basically finish the track. You can also take some big shortcuts towards the end as well that may help you out. Alright, so Ribbon Road, one of the most creative tracks I've seen in this game. And again, it got a huge overhaul from its counterpart from Super Circuit. So Ribbon Road for me, because Nintendo decided to go with that huge upgrade, is going to be in, yeah, I think it's going to be an A tier. But where would I put this? Because, I mean, I kind of don't want Bowser's Castle to be the bottom track. Yeah, you know what? I think Ribbon Road will get the very bottom of A tier for me, or something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right. All right, 2 courses to go. Our next course is Super Bell Subway, basically named after the Super Bell Cup, if you will. The Super Bell Subway. What's it called? Pretty cool idea. I will say I did visit New York at one point, so this did remind me of the subways from in there. And you start out on the outside of the station, and then as you do a couple of tricks off the stairs, you do eventually make your way inside the station. But then you can take some interesting paths, because most of the time the paths will be split in 2, and the whole time you got to avoid the subways coming through, the subway cars coming through. You can take quite a few mushroom shortcuts as well, and then eventually you make it out of the subways, and you pretty much finish at that point with a giant statue of, I think it's a Super Bell, but I could be wrong on that. And you can basically take a mushroom circuit to go around and cut a corner there. Super Bell Subway, right? This track can be a little difficult to navigate if you're not quite timing your drifts well. You could potentially get yourself in a pickle with the subway cars. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, Super Bell Subway, decent track, gotta say. Again, it reminds me of the NYC subways, and I visited New York once. Well, not technically once. I was on a whole tour, East Coast tour 2 years ago. And, yeah, I mean, it did really remind me of the subways. So let's see, where would I put this? I mean, I guess it's a decent track to me. It's not anything too crazy or anything like that, but it's a decent track to me. I mean, the color really comes in from the subway cars themselves. I think Super Bell Subway for me is gonna get the bottom B tier spot. I think it's like just above average. It's just above average. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the final course of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Big Blue, the other F-Zero stage that made it into this game. And holy nuts, I think most of us can agree that Big Blue is the better F-Zero course. Because it's one of those tracks, again, that are split into 3 different sections. You start at the hub of Big Blue. And let me just say for the record, the first section is so good because if you know how to do this right, you could basically just straight up just hold a drift for the first 10 seconds and you'll just get a massive boost and you'll just be set for at least the first 10 seconds of the race. After that, I can't really say because there's a whole lot of RNG that comes in with the items and stuff. But you can just perform a whole giant drift for the first 10 seconds. And then, what's it called? And then you'll have some conveyor belts to deal with. You can also mushroom shortcut through sort of like the little dirt paths along them. And they also bring back the coins on the colored sidelines of the track, which is also very cool. By the time you're on the second section, you're gliding down towards a very water-filled section that you go pretty fast on, because again, the idea of water propelling you forward is incredible. That's basically that whole second section, because then once you glide into the third section, you're greeted by more conveyor belts and pretty much just a split path towards the end, because eventually the paths will split in 2 again for a little bit, and then they'll conjoin again as one path, and at that point your last hope is, your last hope is to boost through with some mushrooms, through whatever dirt that is. I don't even know if it's called dirt, but you basically boost through that stuff as a last minute hope, and you pretty much finish at, I don't know what you call it, I guess it's an F-Zero parking station? I don't know what it's called. all you F-Zero nerds in there, you guys can let me know what the ending is called in the comments below, unless it doesn't have a very specific name to it. But Big Blue, one of the best tracks in this game because of how unique it is and the 3 sections. Again, I'm telling you, Nintendo needs to make more tracks that are 3 sections instead of 3 laps. I think we've started to learn here that if there's a track like Mount Wario out there, man, you got yourself some solid tracks for the next Mario Kart game. Big Blue, where does Big Blue go? I think Big Blue is definitely getting an S rank from me, but where does it go? Alright, hold on. I'm gonna move it up. Big Blue, I think Big Blue, for me, is going to be in 2nd place on this tier list, in front of the Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 64, and behind Mount Wario. So, folks, that is my tier list. Oh man, I can't even fit it all in this frame. Oh well, that's fine. We don't need to remember Donut 3 Plains anyway. I'm kidding, actually. I'm kidding. I like Donut Plains, but again, apparently I like every other track better than Donut Plains. But Mount Wario, I think we're getting a certain theme here. Mount Wario to me is the best track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There's so much going on in it, and I mean, it's just the greatest. As somebody who's also an Olympic nerd, like I said, you know, it's just that kind of nostalgia, and I mean, just the fact that there's just a lot to notice that somehow they put into one track, that combined with the music for each section is absolutely top-notch. And again, as somebody who doesn't really like ice/snow tracks that much, I am really shocked to say that it is my #1 track. But it just really is that good. I really can't disagree with people on this, that Mount Wario is just the best track out there for this game. And with that, I mean, that's all 48 tracks ranked for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this new tier list video that I made. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button for potentially more tier list videos in the future, and subscribe down below to become a part of Shung the Wankster Clan today. And of course, make sure to go follow all my social medias in the description down below. This is actually recorded live on Twitch because I'm here and chat's on the left. I don't know if I'm pointing the right way, but yeah, chat was here on the left making some interactions with me, and I also had somebody in the voice call with me. So if you want to be part of more tier lists, whether or not you want to be in chat or whether you want to actually talk about your opinions, make sure to go follow me on Twitch. And we definitely will play some games here at some point too. We got some celebrations coming up, depending on when this tier list video comes out. And let me know what you guys think about my tier list, and whether or not you guys would rank certain tracks differently. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments section below, just like the Mario Kart tier list. But yeah, I think that's it for me. I think this is going to be a really long discussion, depending on how long this is after I edit it, but I think this will be the longest form of this tier list that anybody's ever done anyway. But I've really enjoyed having this discussion with my chat and with you guys on YouTube. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and enjoy your freshly baked sleep. Just don't eat it. Peace.